And it's our guy, the head coach of your Cleveland Browns, Kevin Stefanski. Join us. Coach, thanks so much for taking the time, my friend. We do appreciate you a great deal. Last time we spoke to you on this program, you had not yet moved. We've gotten word that you have.
And that, in fact, you've chosen the wrong side of town, according to Nathan and I, at least.
Yeah, sad.
There's no wrong sides. It's just Cleveland.
It's a good answer. It's a good answer, man. Is it good to get how did that happen? Was it smooth? Did it go as well as it can go? And obviously, what's been a crazy off season here.
Yeah, it feels really good to finally be here and out of temporary housing, and now we're in a home. We got boxes everywhere, so still got plenty of work to do. But it feels really good to get the family here, get around the community. And it was a long way to get to this point, but we're really thrilled that we're here.
And certainly today you shared some news that had a lot of people in the Browns fandom thrilled, and that is that Odell Beckham Jr., quote, free and clear 100%. And how big will it be for he and Baker to be able to have, a full offseason together, as full as it can be this year, but a training camp, something they didn't even have together last year?
Yeah, well, Odell's done a great job this offseason taking care of his body. He does I've been around a lot of athletes that spend a lot of time working on their body, and he's one of those guys. Like he makes sure that he's in tip-top shape. So he rehabs like crazy, and now we'll get him in here and make sure he's ready and to go. And I really, just watching the videos and just talking to him, he looks really good. And like you said, it's for all of our players, getting them together and pitching and catching and making sure we got, the timing and those type of things done, really only things that you can do out there on those practice fields.
Coach, the other big issue there, obviously, receiver is Jarvis and the surgery that he had. And I know he's on a different program, a different timetable. But have you been able to see him, through these Zooms, through these videos? Just how does he look? Because we haven't seen him in a long time, obviously.
Yeah, he looks good as well. These guys, to their credit and to their trainers' credit, where sometimes they're rehabbing here earlier in the off season, and then sometimes they're rehabbing elsewhere. To their credit, they've really gone step by step. We're not going to push anybody, so we'll make sure that we're smart about getting Jarvis back in here and making sure that we don't go too fast with any of our players. But he's looked really good. He's chomping at the bit. And excited again. I mean, I'm staring at the practice fields right now, and they're teasing me right now because they painted the fields, and we need players out there. This is that's where we do our business with the coaches and the players. So we're excited to get back out there.
They are teasing you. It does look good. And, you mentioned that Odell, free and clear, should be good to go. We're not sure when Jarvis will be ready. How important was it to get Hollywood Higgins back in the fold, a guy that clearly has chemistry with Baker Mayfield last year? Forget about it. Just put on the 2018 tape and even the preseason last year, week 1 last year. How important was it to have that guy back so that if you don't have, an Odell or a Jarvis in camp, you have somebody that Baker's got familiarity with and who seems to be a good scheme fit for what you're doing?
Yeah, that definitely played into it. And you mentioned we'll be smart about Jarvis early and be smart about Odell early as well. So there's going to be plenty of reps for the young guys. And you mentioned Rashard. I mean, he's one of those guys that he's going to get an opportunity, just like a bunch of guys. And I think that's really the great part of when you get players on the field and maybe a guy is sitting at practice out, it's an opportunity for somebody else. So we'll give everybody a fair shot and see if these guys can carve out a role.
Coach, one of the things that we spend a lot of time on this show in the offseason, obviously, is we love a list. Let's rank things. We love to rank things. It's Sports Talk Radio. That's what you do. You rank things. I'm not going to ask you to rank things, but we were looking at our tight ends, our running backs, our receivers, and you put our 5 that you have there, and obviously it goes deeper than that. When you talk about Odell and Jarvis, I think some people forget that we have Kareem Hunt. I know you haven't, but we have Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb and Hoop, obviously, in that mix. And Nathan and I were talking, we thought, boy, the one thing that is going to be interesting is how do you split all that up, and what does that start to look like? And I know you just want to run an offense. You're not calling plays and that type. You just want to run an offense and make the right play here and there. But have you started to formulate a plan for all that talent in terms of the split?
Sure. And one of the things I've always been taught as a young coach, and I believe in this, is you think players and not plays. So we do want to think about these guys, and we do want to put them in position positions to succeed. So as we're drawing these plays up, we're definitely thinking about the player, not necessarily the play at the forefront. Having said all that, there is one football, so we just got to make sure that whatever the game plan calls for that week, that's how it comes out. You know, it's if a team goes in and says they want to take away player X, well then player Z should be the one getting opportunity. So a lot of times the defense and the progression for the quarterback, at least in the pass game, determines where the ball goes. And I think we just got to make sure we design an offense that plays to our guys' strengths. And I think that's what the offensive staff is working real hard on right now.
Well, you mentioned in your press conference that you got the whiteboard where the Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt portion of this has been thoroughly discussed today. How does a discussion like that go? Because I could imagine Beau and I'd be like, let's try to get 25 for Nick and 15 for Kareem. But we know that 40 touches in a game is not always possible for your running back group. How do people with intelligence and experience in the National Football League actually go about discussions like this?
Yeah, I think it's one of those off-season discussions that as a staff you have. And I caution this to say that week to week things change.
Of course.
And that's how it works. And there's certain personnel packages that you love one week and you don't love the next week. So we got to be ready week to week for this to adjust. But by the same token, you have to be mindful and intentional about this. And there is so many plays. There are so many plays to go around. So we'll always go into a game with thoughts in mind about what we're trying to do and who we're trying to feature. And like I said before, that's the good part of having some players across the skill positions that we believe in. We believe in if you're trying to take away one or two, we should feel good about 3, 4, or 5 of the eligible guys.
Coach, what's your philosophy with the hot hand? In Minnesota last year, you had Dalvin Cook, who was clearly a supreme talent. Alexander Mattison played very well when given opportunities there, but there was a talent gap that was pretty significant. Whereas here you've got, Kareem led the league in rushing in 2017, and Nick obviously second in the league last year. Both of these guys are awesome. Nick Chubb, many people think is the best pure running back in the league. How do you as a coach think about, when you say week to week it changes, what if all of a sudden, Kareem's ripping off 12, 15, 17 chunk runs all over the place? How do you think about that? Just forget specifics, but in theory, as a play caller, as a coach, when you're dealing with, close to equal talents and one guy just seems to be in the zone, as they say.
Yeah, that does happen a lot of time with running backs, and really it's really on the coordinator and the running back coach to play that hot hand, because with running backs it's just it's a tough position to play, and you're going to need a breather every once in a while. So if the guy rips off a run, if he's feeling it, you leave him in there. If he needs a blow, the next man up. But as it pertains to Nick and Kareem, what I'm really excited about is those are two team guys. I mean, they are about the team. I think it's just the two of them, just in my conversations with them, they want so badly just to be contributors to winning. And so we'll figure it out. As I've heard said before, it's a good problem to have.
Coach, as you put a wrap on all of these, Zoom meetings and this offseason that's unlike anything we've ever seen before, what is your message to the team as they go on? We'll see them in a month, right? I mean, camp is roughly a month away. What was your message to the team as they embark on July here before they come in for camp?
Yeah, we talked about a lot of things as we head in. We talked about maintaining a routine over this break. These guys have gotten into a routine of lifting and meetings and those type of things. Well, the meetings are going away, so making sure that they stay in the routine of lifting and working out and that type of thing. Obviously, we want them to have a fresh perspective, so we want them to make sure they go to a barbecue on July 4th. I'm not saying they can't do that, but making sure that they go for the fresh while maintaining routine so that they show up in the best shape of their life. And then, for us, we got to stay connected. We need our coaches will shoot a text message out once in a while. They should reach out to their teammates just over this time. I think it's just really important that we continue to stay connected. And then when we get here, we got to just hit the ground running. So there's a lot that these opportunities. We're 80-some days away from the first game, and about 30 of them will be away from each other prior to camp. So we got to make sure each of those days is an opportunity to get better, and that was kind of the message to the guys as they get started on this break.
Coach, was there something that surprised you in this virtual offseason that maybe went better than you could have imagined when you embarked on this in terms of, being able to teach a certain way or the players learning or assimilating the playbook or understanding it? Was there anything that, when you look back on this virtual offseason that surprised you in a positive way?
Yeah, I would say it exceeded our expectations in terms of what we were able to teach and what they were able to learn. It was so new to us initially, virtual offseason, what does that even mean? And then, we turned it into basically a 12-week program because we got their iPads to them on April 6th. The official start date was April 20th, and then we started a 10-week program that wrapped up this week. So it was a lot of meeting time, more than you're used to, because when you're in phase 1 and phase 2 and OTAs, typically the meeting time gets shorter because you're on the field, which makes perfect sense to me. But in this case, we had plenty of meeting time. So our coaches, pulled out all the stops and showed all the video and tried to make it as interactive as humanly possible, because it was our job to teach systems on the offensive and defensive side. And then Coach Preef was teaching his system. What we did was our program, and it varied, I'm sure, in all 32 places, but Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday was offense and defense, and then Thursday was a longer team meeting followed by special teams is how we broke it up. So we still got our special teams work in on Thursdays, but I would say it exceeded my expectations in terms of what we were able to accomplish.
Coach making the best out of a tough situation. Did you get the feeling the guys itching to get on the field? Some of the guys we've talked to talk about, going out in a park and kind of walking through their, the plays and kind of doing it that way. Just such a different way. Do you get the feeling the guys are really excited to get back to it?
Yeah, they are. And I saw some of those videos of where those guys were working out. It looked like some of them were cow pastures. So I'm excited to get them on these beautiful fields in Berea. And so much of learning, we're teaching X's and O's, but now they got to do. You got to go walk through. You got to physically go do that so that you can just cement it in your brain as a concept, whether we're talking offense or defense of football.
Coach, you mentioned cow pastures. Drew Forbes, I talked with him, I think, on Wednesday. Literally, his wife's family has a cow farm. He is literally working on a cow farm and doing his drills in cow pastures, which is a stunning thing. But as you said, these guys will find a way, and they certainly have found a way to be on top of everything. And I want to talk to you about, real quickly, finding a way to be the solution. And we heard Andrew Berry talk about that. The website is up. I discussed it with him last night on Browns Live, Meet the Rookies. And, the players know you have their backs. You've seen this organization take action, led by that email that started with Andrew Berry. What does that mean to you, and what would you say to our fans who are listening now about how they can be the solution?
Yeah, I think I would tell our fans really what I told our players. We all see things go on in our world that we know are wrong, and I don't think there's any debate about that. Now, there's a lot of complicated things, complicated messages. This is not an easy solution, but to AB's point, let's be part of a solution. Let's be part of a positive change. So let's get, I mentioned it to the players before, let's get in the arena. And I think what I've tried to do is give resources to our players. And I think what AB is, his challenge is he's giving these resources to everybody. He's opened it up outside of this building and saying, here are some tangible action items that you can do. If you want to make a change, here's some things that you can really do. And I think so much of what AB has been saying from the moment we started talking about this is like, what can we do? I appreciate dialogue, and words matter, and words can heal, and we got to make sure that we're having conversations. I'm making sure I'm doing that, but then what can I physically do? And sometimes that's making a donation, and for people that are fortunate enough to be able to do that, we should do that. And then it should be, what's the next step? Well, maybe it's education, and there's plenty of books, there's podcasts, and those are the type of things that we've talked about with the players, and AB is doing as well. Is let's educate ourselves, because it's until we put ourselves in another person's shoes, it's just hard. It's hard for us to understand that. And I hope that all of us are doing our part to open up our hearts to this and open up our minds and say, what does that feel like to be this person? What does it feel like to walk in their shoes? Not an easy or comfortable conversation, but I think something that we have to do.
Yeah, Coach, it's taking a moment that's been incredibly impactful and then making sure that you're part of the movement. in the right direction. And the NFL has been very forward on this. We know the Browns do this. We know that we've seen, what you've done as you put together, your staff and the diversity on that. And that's part of the change, right? That's the real change. That's the tangible change, is putting it into action.
Exactly. And I think our ownership group, our organization has been at the forefront of programs like this, of diversity hiring. I can't say enough about what Dee and Jimmy have done here. And so, taking their lead, taking AB's lead, it's something that I take full responsibility to make sure that I'm doing my part in leading our football team to make this positive change and be part of the solution.
Coach, great talking to you as always. Can't wait. Hopefully we get to see you in a month. Hopefully we're allowed in the building. They got us out. Maybe they'll never let us back in. That could be the case. I don't know. But hopefully we get to see you in a month, my friend, for the start of camp.
Yeah, I walk by your studio every day, guys. It's looking empty.
Wave.
It's waiting for you.
I got to tell you, though, the thing
wave.
that's the saddest for me about it is Beau I was out of town, so by the time I got back, I never got to go back in there. My beautiful quarter zip from you is stuck.
Oh, it's sitting
stuck
in
the studio. It needs to be
right.
rescued.
Can't go.
No, sad.
You tell me where it is, I'll go in there and get it for you.
Well,
Appreciate it, Coach, and I know you will. That's right.
You know he will. Coach, thanks, pal. Appreciate you.
All right, guys. Talk to you later.
That's our great head coach, Kevin Stefanski. Just great dude, great man, and can't wait to see him implement this offense.
Can't wait to see him
with
coach.
This talent.